Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dungeon Dive, and I wanted to do a quick channel update for everyone. I know I've been gone for almost like 3 months. Couple reasons. One, it gets really hot in this room during the summer when I have all the lights on for recording, and it gets too hot. It's not even really fun to be in here with all the lights on. So that was one reason why I wasn't around much during the summer. And the second and main reason is that my entire life, I've been into many hobbies, and I go through these extreme phases, right? Where for a certain period of time, I will be all into one thing, and then something clicks in my brain or something changes, the weather changes, the seasons change, and all of a sudden I'm into something else for a while, and I get really into that, and then something else happens, and then I get into something else, and I go through these kind of cyclical phases of hobbies. So one thing that happened this summer is I just did not feel like playing or even touching a board game. I was completely uninterested in board games. I didn't want to read rules. I didn't want to paint. I didn't want to set things up. I didn't want to do anything with them. What I ended up doing this summer is I got really back into watching movies and reading about movies. And I did a really deep dive into David Lynch. I rewatched all of his movies. My wife and I, then we finally sat down and rewatched Twin Peaks: The Return, which was absolutely phenomenal. I kind of feel like TV is over now. Lynch and Frost have pretty much done everything you can possibly do with television by creating this 18-hour movie. It was absolutely destroyed my brain. So good. And I rewatched all of his movies. He's my favorite American film director. My favorite movie of his is Fire Walk with Me, and runner-up is probably Inland Empire. And I bought every book I could find on David Lynch and all of his movies, and I started reading about that. One thing I've always wanted to do is I've always wanted to write a book on Fire Walk with Me, so I've been reading a ton of information on that. So my time this summer was occupied with movies. And now that the fall is here, I'm slowly getting back into board games, into inside hobbies. Well, I guess watching movies is an inside hobby too, so forget I said that. But I am getting the itch to get back into board games. But I also, every fall, I love to read horror and weird fiction. And so in more than one way, in a few ways, my hobbies are intertwined. I like fantasy and horror and weird board games with interesting imaginative worlds. And the same can be said about the movies I enjoy, and the same can be said about the books I enjoy. And so on this channel, I am going to start covering more things than board games. And those things include books and movies. What this is not going to be is one of those like geek channels where I don't really know how to explain it. I'm not going to talk about, I don't know. There's like this kind of like geek channel, nerd channel, TV, movies, that kind of thing. Like, like a Red Letter Media or something. I don't think it's going to be anything like that. It's just going to be more like a personal vlog type stuff about books and movies that I enjoy and board games. I'm going to continue and finish my Warhammer Quest series. And then I am going to, I've got a couple more Kickstarters on the way. So I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do board game wise after my Warhammer Quest series, but we will go back into that. But anyway, so what I'm going to do this fall is I have a large stack of horror and suspense and weird fiction books that I'm going to be reading, and I will be discussing those as I read them. The potential is this stack so far right here. I really like small press horror and kind of a lot more independent horror for the most part, but you'll see Stephen King in there and Ray Bradbury. And I got a few more books on the way. So don't think I'll get through this whole stack through the month of October, but I'm going to read as much as I can and talk about them as much as I can. I'll just go through each one really quick. Sakulina, and that is by Philip Fracassi. I don't really know anything about this. I just picked it up on a whim. I'm just going to show you the covers real quick. This author I'm really into right now. His name is Matthew M. Bartlett, and this is Gateways to Abomination. I just finished this. Excellent book. I'm going to be doing a review on this in a couple days. Then I also got a couple more of his books. Creeping Waves, The Witch Cult in Western Massachusetts, and The Stay Awake Men and Other Unstable Entities. So I think he self-publishes his stuff, but really nice editions and really, really good, high-quality self-published horror. Then we've got another book here called Star Creek by Nathan Carson. He's an author from Portland, Oregon. He's also a musician. Really like the cover on that one. Really neat. And then one of my all-time favorite monster books, Norman Partridge's Dark Harvest. My wife and I are actually going to be reading this aloud to each other in October. This is a fantastic book. Highly recommended if you like really cool monster tales. Like, this is why this isn't a movie, I don't know, because they would be like freaking hit, guaranteed. And then of course the classic Ray Bradbury's October Country, one of the spookiest collections of horror stories of all time. Just an absolute masterpiece. Another newer one that I haven't read yet, Greener Pastures by Michael Wehunt. A Clive Barker novella called Tortured Souls. I've been really disappointed with Clive Barker lately. He used to be one of my favorites. I still love him. I still love Weaveworld is in my top 20 of all time. I love Magica, The Great Secret Show, Everville, Hellbound Heart. But lately he hasn't been doing it. And that final Hellraiser novel, the Crimson Gospels, man, biggest literary disappointment of my life. Another favorite of mine, Theodore Sturgeon, Some of Your Blood. Really, really different take on the vampire novel. And finally, a perennial favorite, Stephen King's Cycle of the Werewolf, with all the great art in there. Where's that cool bloody picture of the wolf ripping off the guy's face? I always loved that as a kid. This is really, I think, kind of an underrated Stephen King novel in many ways. A lot of people don't talk about it. It's really short. I think I love Stephen King, but I think he really excels at shorter fiction, even though I would be lying if I said I didn't love his longer stuff, because I really do. Yeah, the art, this is such a fun book. So one thing I won't be doing on this channel is anything music related. That's still going on my synth channel, because it's hard for me to incorporate genre stuff into my music, like horror, science fiction, dungeon crawl. I could do like dungeon synth. I might actually do some dungeon synth reviews. So dungeon synth is a genre of music that's kind of like soundtracks to dungeon crawls, computer and analog. So it's kind of cool. But so there we have it. I'm going to be focusing on other things. They're going to be genre related. So I guess you can kind of think of the Dungeon Dive. Think of the dungeon as like my hobby dungeon. I recognize that some people won't like that. That's not why they came to the channel. And so if you guys want to leave, that's fine. Go for it. But in order for me to continue doing this, this kind of vlogging as a hobby, I have to make it interesting for myself. And I can't force myself to be into things that I am not into at the time. Because really over the summer, you could have paid me to play a board game. I was just like completely uninterested. And so yeah, so that's it. I hope some people stick around. Maybe I'll get some more viewers. I don't know. I hope you guys like what I have planned for these books. And yeah, that's it. Just want to give everybody an update, say that I'm still around, and I hope to see you guys later. Take it easy. Bye-bye.